Darcy's Corner. We are August 18th, I think, or 19th. And things are getting interesting in life. I still don't have a job. I can't get CERB yet, but I'm supposed to be able to get it soon. I don't know. It's frustrating. I am like this close to being bankrupt and homeless, so that's really annoying. But I'm dealing with it. Uh, Hopefully, I can get myself some sort of a job or something soon here. That's like a real job. My delivery job pays hardly anything at all. It just barely covers the rent, but that's fine. Um, that's not what this blog post is meant to be about. Um, I was recently watching my video where I had to argue with my doctors, and I lay out the process I had to go through. And some people will look at that and they will think that they have the right to judge me based on their lives. And knock yourself out, but I don't care. Like, if you had a different transition experience than I did, or if you've had a better doctor's experience than me, great. I'm glad. Like, I want people to have better experiences than the one I've been having. We all have different lives, too. Um, so if you were able to start this in your 20s or even in your 30s, but ideally in your teens or your 20s, you're going to have a different result, right? And if you're able to approach this right from the get-go and know all the steps to take, you're going to do that. So you're going to have counseling, you're going to have a support group, you're going to have an endocrinologist and a GP and blood work and all these different things. You're going to have all this stuff lined up. But in order to get these things, especially with our current system the way it is, it can take years to get an appointment with this person or that person, and it can take. There's a lot of arguing going on with these different professionals as to what the best path is for you to take. They don't all agree. And what I've learned from that is that if you don't like what that doctor says, you just get a different doctor and they'll say something different a lot of times. So that means that that thing that that doctor said was for certain wasn't really for certain. It was that doctor's opinion, right? And that's how medicine works, I guess. So that's fine. It's frustrating because nothing's consistent, but that's the way it is. That's the way it is. Because it's 4 o'clock in the morning and I did not sleep yesterday at all, sometimes I'll lose my train of thought, have to pause for a moment. But that's okay. I'm human and I give myself that right. If you don't like it, that's okay. There's plenty of YouTube channels you can watch that aren't mine. So, if I had approached this the way that would have been ideal, 11 years ago when I realized I was transgender, at that point in time, I would have kept going to support groups. I would have found the therapist. I would have found the doctor, an endocrinologist, all this other stuff. And I would have taken the years it takes to put those things together. And today I would be a fully her transition person, and hopefully you would not be able to tell that I had ever not been transitioned, right? I would look cis. I mean, ideally. That's the goal for many of us. That's certainly my goal. But I didn't do that 11 years ago because of job and family and religion and all these different pressures of life that are there. I didn't do it. It was only last year and a little before last year when I kind of realized how important this trans part of myself really was to me. I spent 10 years trying to put it away, hide it, tell myself it wasn't there, tell myself it wasn't real. That was a really long and hard 10 years, by the way. Like, that was not enjoyable doing that. Parts of it were better than others. And everybody who was involved in helping me to suppress my trans side meant well, right? My bishop meant well, my wife meant well. Those were the only people that knew. But they they were not trying to be cruel to me, but it just wasn't working for me in the end, right? So I decided, okay, I got to make this change, and I don't know if there's ever a good time to make this change, but I felt safe because I had a good job that paid well, that had a well protected union, that hopefully was going to last for years and years and years, and it was great. And so, okay, well, I can financially, I'll be okay. Career wise, I got this job here, and the union's got it protected, so I'll be okay there. But I also knew that a layoff was coming up, and those layoffs can last 8 months, a year, 2 years. You just don't know. And as long as it was less than a year, I was still protected by my union. So I thought, well, now is a good time to transition because I'm in between jobs. I've got EI coming in. So now is this narrow window of time where I don't have to be anywhere or do anything. And I can just learn to be her and take the medications and see how well that goes, right? And it's now been a year, and you can see the results. Now, I'm not like these are real, okay? But the voice is still a challenge, and the face still hasn't really got there yet. And I mean, the hair is kind of frizzy. I got issues still, even after a year of actively transitioning socially. But I haven't been actively transitioning medically for that full year because I had to fight my doctors. Now, the reason that you would normally the way it would work is like these things take years to go through the doctors, but I didn't have years to enact my transition. I had less than 1 year, and I'm at the end of that now. Right? So I didn't have that kind of time. But it turns out, like, if you know the steps to take, you can just make arrangements and take those steps because I've done it. Right? My name has changed. My gender marker has changed. My physiological body has begun to change a lot. I'm through, hopefully, the worst of the mood swings and stuff, which is it's good to do that when you don't have to be at a job, when you don't have to deal with stressful people who you might have to shout at or might be shouting at you for some reason, because you can't always tell that person to F off, but like you're not always in control of your emotions when you're transitioning. That's a really hard part to deal with, is the emotional part. It was manageable, but boy, I could get myself really worked up sometimes over the smallest details, and it was the hormones that was doing that to me. So I'm glad I pushed and I made sure that I got most of what I wanted now. Like I have half, maybe, of what I want right now. And there's consequences to those medications too. That, like, oh, if I could have medication X instead of medication Y, I know the side effects are different. But to try to get the doctor to give me that medication, it's an uphill battle. It's one more thing I have to go fight for. I have to go argue for. I have to go like, no, I want this. Please make this happen as quickly as possible so I can deal with this situation. Which is what I've had to say repeatedly and be firm about it. Now, I'm in a much better position today than I was when I first started. I mean, I've got most of my medications that I want. I have a supportive doctor, and she means well, and she actually cares, but she also does things based on her emotions, which is not something that works really well with me. But again, I'm not trying to hate on this person. I'm just saying that I want certain things in life, and I know what I need to get them. her initial emotions were like, well, I don't know if you're healthy enough or not to take this medication. But my health hasn't really changed from start to finish. So apparently I was healthy enough a year ago when I started this. My health is relatively the same now. So I was healthy enough. Um, Even though I've been actively transitioning for a year and a bit now, I've only been medically transitioning fully for like the last 5 months. So there's a few months in there that I could have been doing more medically, and I would be further along today. I could be doing more medically now that would enhance certain things. And I'm pushing for that. And like, maybe I'll get it. Maybe I won't. Life isn't perfect. You don't always get everything you want. Any forward motion in my transition is good for me. But if you don't like the experiences I've described, so if it was a negative one where I was fighting to get in this, I didn't like it either. But that happened to me. If it didn't happen to you, good. I hope things go smoothly for everybody going through this. As smoothly as they possibly can. Any hiccup you can get away from that. This is a hard enough thing as it is, and we don't need to make it any harder. So that's what I got to say on that. Yeah, I'm at my 1 year mark, I guess, about now. And I'm reasonably happy with my progress. I could be happier, but if I was working, I'd be happier. That's true. Anyway, that's all I got for now. Darci's Corner. You guys take care.